He's still in Cousins. You already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Ding, 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 ding. Boom, 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 boom. Y'all see where we at? Y'all see the chair? It is blue. My husband got it. Okay. Let's get up in here. Y'all see where we at? We are at our cousin's house, SSG Animations, SSGA, the gang. What are we doing? Three true horror stories caught on the ring camera animated. What? I am becoming a big fan of these. Why? Because they spooky as shit. So not only do y'all gotta be careful with with the companies and the governments hacking the ring camera and watching you, but you have to be careful from also people out there being crazy. We seen one where the girl thought she was squared away and her mama had to call 12 because she thought she was squared away. Someone still came to her house and was about to get her. Her mama seen it on the ring camera. So cameras outside are good. Cameras inside, because they're gonna watch what you're doing regardless. All right. That's how you get these footages of, the funny little hee hee ha ha videos you see of ring cameras. Not all the time they get posted. Sometimes it's the people that are working and they see it and they record it and they post it. That's neither here nor there. It is not my job to let y'all know. But well, as cousins, as cousins of the big cousin, I can let you know. I can let you know what to look out for, and that's just me. Um, but yeah, let's get up in here. Let's see what's happening. Let's hope it's a good little spooky one, because lately they've been spooky, but it's been like I miss. So let's get up in here. Y'all, please go grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket just in case. You see, mine is on the back. I was trying to decide if I wanted to bring it over with me, but who am I without a blanket? What if I need to be snug? What if these stories is getting too good and I need to cuddle in? So yeah. And let's get up in here, y'all. I love you. Thank you for the support. And yeah, I love y'all so much. Not ugly one outside.
For as long as I can remember, I've always been a big fan of the occult. I love paranormal stories.
Okay.
I watched all the horror movies you can imagine, and obviously, I even opened my own YouTube channel. Nowadays, I have to admit that I'm a bit removed from horror.
Like, is this me?
I used to think nothing was scarier than the paranormal, the occult. Ghosts and ghouls seemed genuinely terrifying to me, and nothing could be worse than having a ghost haunting your family. Until one night, I realized how wrong I was. That night, I realized that reality trumps fiction. That night, I realized that I didn't have to be afraid of ghosts. I had to be afraid of people who are still alive.
And you do.
It all started one cold Friday morning. Halloween was a month away, but even so, I wanted to go ahead and order my costume. I didn't have a lot of money on me, so I wanted to do something simple. So I chose to dress up as Freddy Krueger. All I needed was a pullover, black jeans, a hat like his, and some hands with blades.
Yep.
I had thought of all the places to shop, so I chose everything on Craigslist and ordered it. When the order arrived, I was overjoyed. I would have a perfect costume for very little money. My wife is a special effects makeup artist, so I could make myself look a lot like Freddy. I went out to get my stuff, not knowing what I was about to find. The Craigslist delivery man was a normal man. No feature of his face was striking. His hairstyle was nothing special, and his physical build was unremarkable. Nothing about him was remarkable. So why he scared me so much was inexplicable. It was as if something around him gave him a bad feeling.
Yeah,
as if a terrifying aura surrounded him.
He's a bad person.
Trying to ignore my feeling, I went to get my things, and he spoke to me.
What'd he say?
You having a costume party, aren't you? As he said this, his face changed completely. The man flashed a huge grin from ear to ear. As he did so, all his facial features hardened. His eyes were still the same, but his gaze had changed. It was piercing and intimidating. He may have just asked me a simple question, but the words pierced my ears like blades. How do you know? Without answering me, he looked at the bag in the direction of Freddy's glove. Oh, of course, silly me. I am preparing in advance my Halloween costume, that's all. You know, my friends and I like Halloween very much. We usually dress up as clowns. That is cool. Although for us, Halloween is all year round. Someday, I'll show you my costume. I'm sure you'll be delighted. Yes,
I don't think so.
Someday. Have a nice day. The man didn't answer me. He just kept staring at me with his huge smile. As I opened the door to my house, I could see him slowly raise his hand and waving it back and forth. He waved at me. I locked myself in the house and looked out the window. But when I did, he was gone.
Okay, good.
Uncomfortable, I showed my wife the things, and she was happy. I let her joy rub off on me and pretended nothing had happened. I let this encounter pass as something rare, something that would never happen again. Little did I know, that was far from over. A few nights later, my wife had left with her friends, so I was going to spend the night alone with my 4-year-old son.
Oh.
I was sitting there watching a horror movie when suddenly I heard a car pull up to my house. I thought my wife had arrived earlier, so I looked at the ring camera, and there it was. A scary man dressed as a clown was walking slowly towards my house, making strange head movements and staring at my camera as he walked. This man was the Craigslist driver. The man quickly arrived at my house and immediately rang the doorbell over and over again as his ghoulish grin grew bigger and bigger. He knew I was home. He knew that each ring scared me more than the last. In desperation, I called the police and told them to come urgently. That there was a scary man dressed as a clown at my door. They told me to stay on the line, but I cut the phone to get my son, who was in his room. Before I went, I looked again at the ring camera, and the clown was no longer there. I couldn't believe it. The man dressed as a clown had broken into my house. I didn't even try to fight. My only reaction was to go upstairs and into my son's room. The man on Craigslist may have caught up with me, but he didn't even try to chase me. He just followed me in slow motion, enjoying every step I took up the stairs. After covering the door with a piece of furniture, I locked myself in the room and hugged my son. The clown started banging violently on the door while laughing frenetically. My son and I stood hugging each other, crying. He didn't know what was happening, but he knew it was something bad. Suddenly, the banging stopped, and I saw something slide under the door.
You're lying.
It was a picture of my son sleeping through the night. There were also other pictures of me and my wife sleeping. The man had been in my house before. We just didn't know.
Nobody watching you?
My blood froze and I didn't know how to react. I was stunned. After that silence, I heard several footsteps in my house until those footsteps came into the room.
Oh, that's 12?
It was the police.
Ooh.
The policemen who came told us that they did not see anyone in the house. When they arrived, it was already empty. After watching my ring camera video, they told me that they had seen this clown in other films. Like other clowns, these people were harassing people. As a result of this, there were several disappearances and crimes. They were never able to identify the clown, and when I told them it was the same man from Craigslist, they were able to identify him, but never found him. Apparently, that was his last delivery.
Oh, quit.
The next day, I changed all the locks, and within a year, I moved out.
Period.
No matter how safe my house seemed, I could no longer live there knowing that my wife and son were in danger.
Why they showed me
From that day on, I could no longer watch horror movies, especially those with clowns in them. Maybe one day I will recover from what we experienced, but for now, I prefer to watch comedy movies.
That's crazy. Being scared out of scary movies is wild.
This happened to me and my family when we were living in Kansas City back in 2016.
What you doing?
Clowns were all the rage, and scary clowns were a hot topic across the country. My wife Abby and I, and my son Nick, all lived in a nice house in a safe neighborhood. Every day in the news, there was at least one piece of news relating to a scary clown. It was either a prank or a serious crime or something along that line. However, around Halloween of 2016 and 17, there were a lot of people dressed as clowns. It was funny and weird at the same time. My son Nick, who was 15 back then, dressed as a creepy clown too. My wife and I had a good laugh looking at our silly-looking son. But soon, things took a turn for the worse.
It's not.
Now, you must know something about me. I'm a banker, but my father was a cop, which means I knew a lot about the police in the States. And being the son of a cop, I always made sure that our house was secure, which means making sure all the locks and bolts on the doors and windows are working okay. The Ring camera and the one in our backyard are always on, etc. Abby always said that I exaggerated, but I just wanted to keep my family safe. Nothing wrong with that, right? A month after Halloween, there was a break-in into the house of an elderly couple that lived down the street. They said it was a clown carrying a machete. He threatened them and stole a bunch of valuables and money. The cops were working on the case when another break-in happened in one of the houses in our neighborhood. For the first time, a scary clown had struck our area. Now my wife was thanking me for being so serious about the security of our home. Although the neighborhood was on high alert, somewhere deep down I knew that the clown would strike a third time. Usually, my wife and I slept in the master bedroom on the ground floor, and my son's house was secure. For the worse. Now, you must know something about me. I'm a banker, but my father was a cop, which means I knew a lot about the police in the States. And being the son of a cop, I always made sure that our house was secure, which means making sure all the locks and bolts on the doors and windows are working okay. The Ring camera and the one in our backyard are always on, etc.
Yep.
Abby always said that I exaggerated, but I just wanted to keep my family safe.
You gotta make sure everything's
Nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
A month after Halloween, there was a break-in into the house of an elderly couple that lived down the street. They said it was a clown carrying a machete. He threatened them and stole a bunch of valuables and money. The cops were working on the case when another break-in happened in one of the houses in our neighborhood. For the first time, a scary clown had struck our area. Now my wife was thanking me for being so serious about the security of our home.
Period.
Although the neighborhood was on high alert, somewhere deep down I knew that the clown would strike a third time.
And he would.
Usually, my wife and I slept in the master bedroom on the ground floor, and my son slept in his room upstairs. But that day, I decided to sleep on the couch in front of the TV. My wife was in our room, and my son was fast asleep in his. Around 2 a.m, my phone chimed beside me on the couch. I had fallen asleep with the TV on, so I immediately woke up when the notification popped up. It was from the Ring camera. There was motion detected on our porch. I was immediately on high alert. I grabbed my phone and opened the app. And the scene I saw was straight out of a person's nightmare. There was a scary-looking clown on my front porch. He was just standing there, looking at the house. He also had a big machete in his hand, which he was holding right against his chest. He was dragging his right foot as if he had a limp. He was just acting weird, like a zombie. But I was the most scared when he stopped moving and noticed the Ring camera. He became as still as a rock and just kept looking into the camera. Then he moved his face close to it. That's when I lost it. I knew it was unsafe to go out and confront him. Even though my father had taught me how to fight, I was no match for a blade-wielding crazy guy.
At all.
That's when I remembered.
Pick your
My
battle.
wife loved to sleep with the window open. I looked at the footage of the camera and the clown wasn't there.
Oh!
I ran to our bedroom and spotted the open window. Abby was sleeping peacefully. I yanked the window closed, and then the clown emerged from the side of the house. He must have heard the noise of the window closing. He raised his machete and moved it across his neck, making the "I'll kill you" motion. What happened, Brandon?
Nothing,
My
girl,
sleepy
go to
wife
sleep.
asked from the bed. Nothing, sweetie. You sleep. I didn't want to worry her.
Yeah.
I grabbed my phone once again and climbed the stairs to my son's room. His window was locked and his blinds were drawn, which meant no one from the street should be able to spot him. I dialed 911 and told the operator my emergency. He said that the cops would be there in a few minutes.
Ain't nobody there.
Almost 5 minutes after I hung up the phone, someone rang the doorbell.
Why would you?
I saw the footage of the Ring camera on my phone and saw a cop standing in front of my door. He was looking into the camera and showing me his badge. He was saying something, but we didn't have speakers installed. It was weird that the cop was able to get there so fast,
You know?
especially given on average that the time it takes for cops to get to our neighborhood is around 10 to 15 minutes. Plus, it was weird for a single cop to show up at your door at night. They usually have a partner with them.
At least two.
So instead of opening the door immediately, I looked at the footage for a while. That's when I noticed that he wasn't a cop. Rather, he was a detective. Throughout my childhood and teenage years, I'd been around enough cops and detectives to know that only police officers responded to 911 calls, and never a detective. So, it was extremely odd for one to be on my porch. I kept watching the footage some more and noticed that the body language of that man was off.
Period.
He might have dressed like a detective, but he wasn't one. He was someone else.
He was the cop.
That's when the man finally moved and walked a few steps away from the door. And to my utter shock, he had a limp in his right leg, too.
I knew it.
In an instant,
I
knew
it.
what was going on. But before I could do anything, loud sirens could be heard down the road. The cops were here. The detective, or should I say the scary clown, ran like a madman across my front yard in the opposite direction, all the way limping and barely managing to go fast enough. This time when the real cops knocked, I opened the door. The commotion had woken up my wife and son. I filled them in on what had happened. The cops told me that I was super smart not to open the door the second time when the fake cop showed up.
Period.
They told us that the same thing had happened at different parts of the city, and that the scary clown or fake cop had even killed a woman who was naive enough to open the door. A citywide search was going on for this man, and the footage from our Ring camera had helped the cops get the face of the criminal. Just a year later, we moved from Kansas to Montana, but the clown was never caught. But after that day, he didn't torment anyone else or loot any other houses. My overprotective attitude saved my family and many other families who could have been the victim after us. But that clown's face was the scariest thing I had ever caught on the Ring camera. Ever. So next time when someone rings your doorbell at night or knocks on your door,
Why would they?
check before you open the door.
Why would I just open my
Or
door?
you could become a victim of a scary criminal.
No. Keep that over there. Me and my cousins, we know better. Me and you open the door for random people.
Being a single mom of 2 twin boys is tough, especially if your kids are 3-year-old toddlers.
Oh, yeah.
They are hyperactive and are always in need of supervision. So just to be safe, I installed cameras all around the house. I'm a working mom, and I have to make sure the kids are safe in the house with the nanny while I go to work.
I agree.
Being a single mom also means between work, looking after the kids, and chores, I hardly get any time to shop for groceries or do anything for myself. So I mostly rely on food and grocery delivery services. DoorDash is one of my favorites. They are quick and deliver whenever I need stuff, no matter what time it is. Oftentimes, I order stuff from DoorDash while I'm at work, and the nanny takes the delivery for me. My twin sons, Alex and Adam, love home-cooked food, so I try to make meals from scratch as frequently as possible. They also like to play a lot, so I have a small park in the backyard for them. It has a kiddie pool, slides, a set of swings, and a trampoline. It's a good place to host playdates and small parties for kids as well. Sometimes while I'm at work, I like to watch my kids play in the park through the CCTV camera app. Also, we live in an area where wild animals often visit us, so a motion detection alert from the Ring camera and the backyard camera helps us to be safe. However, last month, something very scary happened. Every evening I get home by 6, and I spend the rest of my day with my kids, and by 8:30 I make sure they are in bed. Mostly due to all the activities they do throughout the day, they fall asleep after dinner. Then I do chores around the house, clean up behind them, and rarely enjoy a glass of red wine by the fireplace while reading a book. But that day was especially exhausting because the nanny had left early and I had to rush around the evening traffic to get back home to my kids. I made us dinner and made sure they were asleep. Afterwards, I hardly had any energy to do anything else, so I went to bed. Sometime around 3 a.m., I suddenly woke up. Someone was ringing the bell and knocking on the front door. I was terrified for a second, but then I heard a woman.
"Please open your door. It's your DoorDash delivery."
But I had not ordered anything on DoorDash. Or had I?
No, you didn't.
Sometimes all the work made me forgetful, so I checked my phone, and sure enough, I hadn't ordered anything. And why would I order anything at that ungodly hour?
Like, come on now.
I thought about opening the door and letting the poor delivery girl know that she had the wrong address. That's when I received a notification on my phone. There was motion detected in our backyard in my kids' play area. I wondered if it was a deer or, God forbid, a bear. Those things would come around once in a while to soak in the kiddie pool. So instead of going out of the house, I checked the live footage on the camera in the backyard, and I just sat in my bed frozen. There were 4 men in my backyard right outside my kids' window, trying to break into the house. I was alone with my kids and I had no firearms with me.
Girl.
"Please open the door. I have other deliveries. I do not have all night."
The DoorDash girl was practically yelling now and banging on the door. Often, if there was no one to pick up the order, the DoorDash delivery person would just leave the stuff by the door, so this woman had no need to be so aggressive. The 4 men were wearing dark hoodies with hoods pulled up and a mask covering their faces. I couldn't see their faces through the cam, but I was scared shitless. That's when I switched to my Ring camera and saw the woman. She might not have spotted my Ring camera because she was constantly looking to the left, where there is a path leading to my backyard, and gesturing for something. It seemed like she was part of the gang as well, but at that moment, my first concern was protecting Alex and Adam. So I got out of bed, padded towards the kitchen, and grabbed a knife. Then I headed to the kids' bedroom and immediately heard the people trying to break in from outside. Before calling the cops, I had to make sure my kids were safe.
Whatever you say.
Luckily, we had a basement where we could hide till the police arrived in case those people succeeded on breaking in. "Hey, Alex, Adam, wake up. We need to play a game," I whispered to my kids, praying the people outside did not hear me. My kids are dead sleepers, so they did not budge. So instead of waking them, I picked up Alex and ran downstairs as fast as I could without making any sound. Then I came back up for Adam, and soon all 3 of us were in the basement. Both of them were sleeping in 2 old lawn chairs while I paced the room, trying to call 911. The operator assured me that I had done the right thing and I should shut the basement door and have a weapon in case things went south. No matter the circumstance, was I supposed to come up until the cops were at my door. I hung up the phone and then stared at the live footage on the phone. Those people were still trying, but they had no tools, so it was tough to open the window or the door.
They ain't got nothing.
The DoorDash girl was not helping them. I was still praying, wishing they did not damage my home or harm me and my kids. A few minutes later, I saw the people argue amongst themselves. 2 of them climbed the fence and walked away. 3 others, including the DoorDash girl, followed once they realized the doors and windows were shut tight. 15 minutes later, the cops showed up, and finally, Adam and Alex woke up too. I brought them upstairs and told the cops what happened. I also showed them the footage.
According to the footage, it looks like the gang had a plan in place. The DoorDash girl was the first part of the plan. If you opened the door for her, the rest of the 4 people would have ambushed you and force-entered the house. But when you did not open the door, the people started to find alternative ways into the house. But when they realized the locks were unbreakable, they abandoned the mission and ran away. From the looks of it, these people are novices at this. They may have even been teenagers trying to cause some chaos. Nevertheless, it's best you hid in the basement. You never know what those people wanted. Also, henceforth, be careful. And good thing you invested in a good security system.
With that, the cops did a perimeter check and left. Never in my life had I ever been so scared for myself and my kids. But I was happy that we got out of it unscathed.
And we're happy for you. We are happy for you. Please, please, y'all be careful. Y'all watch your kids, you know. If y'all got Ring cameras, y'all watch them cameras like it's the back of your hand. If y'all got cameras in the front of y'all house, y'all need to have cameras in the back of y'all house. Period. Ain't no ifs, ands, nor buts. You know? Which one was my favorite? I say probably the first one with the clown. Well, the second one also had a clown. So they were all good. The first one, I can't believe old boy got scared out of watching scary movies. Like, that's crazy. How are you? You're like, are you a real horror fan or like, aren't you? Because ain't nothing can scare me out of watching scary movies. I'm sorry. I'll just deal with it and still watch my scary movie the next day. Like, number 2, if your man overprotective, just let him be overprotective. Don't sit there and try to tell him, you know, you need to simmer down, because when shit pop off, you gonna want him to protect you. So that girl sitting there talking about her husband till shit popped off, and then, oh my God, I'm so thankful. Like, nah. And then the third one, you know, just need a gun. Y'all need a gun. Single parents, mom, dad, get a gun. Be licensed. You know, make sure it's a licensed weapon. Don't just be out here getting guns off the corner. So that way, something happened in your house, you can protect yourself. Because in reality, she could have shot through the window. Bow, bow, bow. You know, not really, because you have to have equal force. But hey, some places you don't. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments, y'all. And until next time, I love you.